Atlantic City, New Jersey. Convention Hall, March 16, 1996. Saturday night, 10:15 p.m. The air inside the arena is electrically charged. 16,000 people have packed every available inch. This is not just another fight. This is the night Mike Tyson, fresh out of 3 years in prison, returns to professional boxing. The man who dominated the sport in the 1980s, who dismantled champions as if they were amateurs, who made grown men tremble before he even stepped into the ring. The man once called the most destructive force in boxing. He is back. His opponent is Frank Bruno, a 6'3", 247-pound British heavyweight carved from solid muscle. Bruno is no ordinary challenger. He is the WBC World Champion, a title he won while Tyson was away. He has successfully defended his belt. He boasts 40 wins, 38 by knockout. He is respected, feared in his own right. But tonight he faces something different, something no one in modern boxing has ever fully deciphered. Mike Tyson at 29, hungry, furious, carrying 3 years of pent-up frustration. Tyson's entrance into the arena is theatrical in its starkness. No pompous music, no elaborate light show. Just him, walking down the aisle with a towel over his head, eyes locked on the ring. Nothing else exists. The roaring crowd chanting his name doesn't exist. The television cameras broadcasting to 80 countries don't exist. The pressure to prove he's still relevant doesn't exist. There is only the ring, only the opponent, only the violence about to be unleashed. Frank Bruno is already in the ring when Tyson climbs the steps. Bruno is warming up, throwing combinations into the air, trying to look confident. But his eyes betray something else. There is tension in his shoulders that shouldn't be there. His trainers are talking to him, giving last-second instructions, but Bruno isn't fully listening. He is watching Tyson, watching the way the man moves, like a caged predator. Watching the complete absence of fear or nerves. Watching, and perhaps, for the first time, feeling the real weight of what he is about to face. The referee calls both fighters to the center. Mills Lane, a veteran who has refereed hundreds of bouts, gives the standard instructions. Protect yourselves at all times. Obey my commands. Fight clean. Tyson doesn't look at the referee. His eyes are fixed on Bruno. There is something in that stare that makes the air heavier. It isn't hatred. It isn't anger in the conventional sense. It is something more primitive, something that exists before words, before civilization. It is pure intent. The fighters return to their corners. The trainers remove the robes. Bruno is in red trunks, Tyson in black. The symbolism is too obvious to ignore. The bell rings. Round 1. Frank Bruno comes out of his corner with a plan. He is taller, has greater reach. He needs to use the jab, keep Tyson at distance, never let him into the danger zone. His trainers have drilled this into his head for weeks. Box and move, box and move. Don't trade punches with Tyson, don't try to be a hero. But Mike Tyson doesn't fight like other boxers. He doesn't respect distance. He doesn't respect reach. He advances. He doesn't walk, doesn't maneuver strategically. He presses forward with the inevitability of an avalanche. Bruno throws a jab. It's a good jab. Technical, fast. It lands on Tyson's forehead. Tyson doesn't even blink. He absorbs it and keeps coming. Bruno throws another jab, then another. Tyson slips one, takes another grazing, keeps coming. The distance is shrinking. Bruno can feel the space disappearing. He backs up, tries to reset, re-establish distance. But Tyson is already there, already inside, already in the zone where his power is absolute. And it is at this moment, with 30 seconds elapsed in the fight, that it happens. Frank Bruno, perhaps from nerves, perhaps from frustration, perhaps from one last flicker of bravado, says something. His words are low, audible only to Tyson and the nearby referee. "You're a piece of trash." 3 words, 12 letters. A whisper that would be forgotten in any other circumstance. But not tonight. Not with this man. Not with Mike Tyson, who spent 3 years being called far worse, reduced to a prison number, treated as if his career was over. Not with the man who grew up on the streets of Brooklyn being taunted, attacked, forced to prove his worth with his fists since he was 12. Tyson's eyes change. They don't become angrier. They become colder, more calculated. The violence that had been controlled, channeled, disciplined, now finds a new purpose. It is no longer about winning the fight. It is about erasing the man in front of him. What happens in the next 12 seconds defies comprehension. Tyson explodes. There is no other word. He unleashes a combination that begins with a left hook to the body. The sound of impact is audible in the front rows. Bruno contracts, his abdominal muscles absorbing the blow but not completely. Before he can react, Tyson is throwing a right uppercut that comes from below, from an angle Bruno doesn't see coming because he's still processing the body shot. The uppercut catches Bruno on the chin with a force that snaps his head back. His eyes lose focus for a fraction of a second. Tyson doesn't stop. He throws a left hook to the temple, then another straight right to the nose. Bruno's nose explodes. Blood sprays instantly. The crowd is roaring, but the sound feels distant, muffled. In the ring, there is only the rhythm of destruction. Bruno tries to back away, survival instinct screaming to create space, to breathe, to think. But Tyson is glued to him, an inseparable shadow. Every time Bruno retreats, Tyson advances. Every time Bruno tries to pivot, Tyson is already there. It is claustrophobic, suffocating. It is like fighting gravity itself. Tyson fires a 6-punch combination in 2 seconds. Left to the body, right to the head, left into the guard, right that slips through the guard. Bruno is taking punishment. He is no longer fighting. He is merely trying to survive. His hands are up but not blocking effectively. They are just there, taking up space, waiting for the next impact. The crowd is on its feet. 16,000 people watching a man being systematically taken apart. There is something horrifying about it, something that makes people want to look away, but they cannot. It is pure, primitive violence, yet executed with surgical precision. Every Tyson punch has purpose, has a target, has intent. Bruno is on the ropes now. His face is swollen, blood streaming from his nose. From a cut above the left eye no one saw open. His eyes are glazed. He is conscious but not present. His body is running on autopilot, basic protective instincts trying to do what his brain can no longer coordinate. Mills Lane, the referee, watches closely. He has seen hundreds of fighters in trouble. He knows the difference between a man who is losing and a man who is being destroyed. He knows when to step in, but he also knows Frank Bruno is a world champion, that he deserves a chance to recover, that stopping the fight too soon would rob him of his dignity. Tyson lands an uppercut that literally lifts Bruno off the canvas. For a fraction of a second, his feet leave the floor. When he lands again, his legs are wobbly, trembling. He is holding the ropes, not for strategy, but to keep from falling. And it is at this moment that something inside him breaks. Frank Bruno looks at the referee. He says nothing. He doesn't need to. His eyes say everything. They say, "Get me out of here." They say, "I can't do this anymore." They say, "Please." Mills Lane sees it. He steps in. He wraps his arms around Bruno, pulling him away from Tyson. The fight is over. Technical knockout. Official time, 50 seconds of the third round. But the world will remember the 12 seconds of pure fury that sealed Bruno's fate. Mike Tyson does not celebrate. He simply walks to his corner, sits on the stool, lets his trainers remove his gloves. His breathing is normal. He isn't sweating. He isn't tired. He simply did what he came to do. The camera catches his face in close-up. There is no joy, no satisfaction. There is only a disturbing calm, the calm of a man who has just released something that had been trapped inside him for a very long time. Frank Bruno is being examined by doctors in the ring. He is conscious, answering questions, but his eyes are empty. In later interviews, he will say he doesn't clearly remember what happened. He will say it was like being hit by a train. He will say he had never felt power like that before. He will say the words he whispered were a mistake, the biggest mistake he ever made in a ring. The media erupts. The next day's headlines scream about Tyson's return, about the brutality of the victory, about whether anyone can stop him. Experts debate whether he is better than before prison or whether Bruno simply froze under pressure. Theories proliferate. But only Bruno, Tyson, and Mills Lane know about the 3 words, about the whisper that turned a boxing match into an execution. Tyson never mentions the incident publicly. When asked about the fight, he gives short, professional answers. He did his job. He reclaimed what was his. He proved 3 years away didn't erase what he fundamentally is, the most destructive force boxing has ever seen. But in private conversations years later, he will acknowledge it. He will say he heard the words. He will say something inside him switched off. Not anger, but absolute focus. He will say that in that moment, Frank Bruno stopped being an opponent and became a problem to be solved. And Mike Tyson has always solved his problems with his fists. Frank Bruno was never the same after that night. He would fight a few more times, win some, lose others. But something in him had broken in Atlantic City, not just physically, but psychologically. He had looked into the eyes of something boxing hadn't prepared him to face, and he never fully recovered. The fight becomes legendary, not for the total 50 seconds, but for the 12 seconds of pure fury. Experts dissect it, trainers study it, young boxers watch it repeatedly, trying to understand how one man can generate so much power, so much speed, so much destruction in so little time. The answer is simple and terrifying. Mike Tyson is not like other men. He is something else, something forged on the hardest streets, shaped by a legendary trainer, refined by prison, unleashed with singular purpose. And it all began with a whisper. 3 words that cost Frank Bruno his dignity, his title, and a piece of his soul. "You're a piece of trash." 12 seconds later, he was begging the referee to stop it. This is the story of how arrogance meets reality, of how words can carry consequences, of how Mike Tyson, on the night of March 16, 1996, reminded the world why he was called Iron Mike, why he was feared, why he was inevitable. Not because he was the most technically gifted, not because he had the best jab or the best defense, but because when he decided to destroy someone, there was no force in boxing capable of stopping him. And Frank Bruno, on that fateful night in Atlantic City, learned it in the most painful way possible.